I'm Joseph.
And I'm Nick.
And this is Fish Jelly.
CCC.
How are you?
I'm great.
Happy Easter.
Happy Zombie Jesus Day.
It's a good segue because I wanted to talk about something really quickly. Because every time we make a video where you say something about like faith-based movies or like that you're not, religious or something about Christians, people get very upset.
Okay.
And then I also get comments like, why do I allow or like thanking me for not being so whatever. But I think just to clarify, which normally I don't like excuses, but I think we both, like many queer people, have experienced a lot of trauma related to organized religion.
Yes.
So, while my approach is different to yours in how I react to religious speak or content, I think, it's not just like loose, crazy talk. It's like there's a lot of pain related to feeling rejected. I went for many years, we went to a Baptist church and the reverend would give sermons like anti-gay, like talking about that. And do you know that motherfucker died of AIDS?
Yeah, of course. Usually,
which he contracted from having sex with men. Which we'll get into the topic of DL shit later because of our secret movie. But so I don't want to go on and not to excuse your behavior because I don't always agree with how you say things.
Sure.
I certainly don't disagree. I just think I'm very Michelle Obama about when they go low, we go high. And to me, it's just like...
I'm very much...
You're a little more Malcolm X.
I'm a little more Malcolm X.
Hey, I'm a little more MLK. But I think that it's just maybe feeling... And maybe I'm the clown and maybe I should be more aggressive. But I just think like being gay and black... I just feel like I have to appease everyone. So I have to tread lightly. I don't want to offend anyone. I've worked in an environment for many years where I have to deal with people and, working with customers sort of, we're put in an awkward position because it's like I'm expected to just stand there and listen to you spout out your beliefs and assume that I give a fuck about whatever you're talking about. And so over the years, I've learned to just absorb that versus you have had a much longer time sort of being free of that. So that's all. I don't want to have a debate about it because I don't disagree with you.
I it's never my intention as at the age I am at now to be disrespectful per se, but I'm also not going to get it twisted. I'm not here about that bullshit. Just like I'm anti-racist and everything else that is going to come out. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that there's not a ton of personal trauma and just what religion really does sometimes.
But what you're talking about is I agree with you in that like the dangers of organized religion, but also I don't think that's separate from the people who align themselves with that. Like there are people out there who identify as Christian or Muslim or whatever other religion I think is kind of crazy. Well, because all of it seems... I respect it because I think if people use it as a way to help them deal with the chaos of life, and as humans, we do seek out answers for the unexplained. And I think, my personality is very much rooted in like, oh, science made sense to me.
Sure.
Like... maybe people who don't understand science feel like they... I don't know. I like facts. And so to me, religion seems like, well, there's a pie in the sky that I'm supposed to have this blind faith to, and I just can't do that.
Well, religious, it's like anti-facts. And what I think I really appreciate about it the least is it gives an out for having to grow. And well, because in a search for answers, realizing there are none, and there's this book that we all reference and interpret however we want. We don't ever have to stretch or redefine our beliefs. Or as you grow and as you experience the world and other people, you should also be, recalibrating how you feel and what you
I don't
believe
know
in.
if I fully agree with that, because I do think there are things that we don't have answers to, right? Like, where did we all come
yes,
from? Where did we go?
I agree.
So that's what I'm talking
but
about.
But religion can be used as a way to, like, we're just not going to know because there's this man in the sky that tells me I don't need to know. So
Right, but I feel like your attitude is just like, immediately if someone says they are Christian or some sort of religion, you are automatically like annoyed and you make assumptions about them. And I'm saying I don't do that, because I think that there are very fair, reasonable, loving, kind people who feel like they need a little something extra. Like, it's like, for someone like me, I believe when I die, it's the same as before I was born. Nothing. I don't think that I'm going anywhere. I don't think there's some person in the sky who is watching me and loves me more, like I'm their child, but then somehow lets all this bad shit happen to everything. I don't believe in that part, but I also appreciate that there are people who are smart and do believe in science and are not all the phobias, who still keep that shit in their back pocket. Like, well, just in case, I'm gonna go ahead. And it also gives them peace. And then maybe the allegories in the Bible, they see it as that, and they look at it for inspiration to live a better life. So that's all I think that's the difference between the two of us, but I don't disagree with what you're saying.
no, certainly if you're a Christian that actually acts like a Christian, great.
Right. I just think my issue is usually the automatic sort of negative response to someone saying their religion and then sort of disrespecting it, like, well, you must be this because you believe in this. I don't agree with that.
Yes, and I know that creates a different problem. I think a lot of liberals and progressives are going through that now, is with policing and political correctness, is you can get to a point where you become the thing you hate.
Right, yes. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm aware of that, and it's not my intention to be disrespectful. It's where old wounds are easily opened. But it reminds me of a story, because I worked full-time through high school and college, and I was a cashier at Sam's Club in college, and I remember it was the year V for Vendetta had just come out, and this woman this white woman was buying all these like Christian books that they were selling at Sam's Club, and I was a very unhappy person at this time. But I remember, I think I must have had some look on my face that I couldn't fix when this lady was buying these, and she noticed, and she took the time to say, because if you remember V for Vendetta, there's queer components to that.
I don't recall.
Oh, okay. But she asked me.
Oh, is the lead like a lesbian?
Natalie Portman.
Right.
I don't know that she's lesbian, but
anyway, whatever. I don't know.
But I just remember that she was trying to talk to me in a way that would make me feel like she sees me. Which disarmed me, and kind of, I remember feeling like, oh, why am I walking around so angry? And
I've shared stories with you, and there was a period, there have been a couple of periods in my life where I did seek out church, but not because I was looking for salvation. It was more like fellowship and just something different. Being very aware that, like, I don't necessarily, like, this doctrine is not going to infect my mind and change who I am as a person, as much as maybe just, I don't know. I can see how people just want fellowship, and they want to be around like-minded people whose priorities are a little different. And, the reality is, like, and again, I'm not religious, but, living in a big city like LA and being queer and engaging in activities that are not, what saved and sanctified people would probably get into. Sometimes I do feel like it's a little chaotic, and it seems like people have no values and no morals and no like guiding center. So again, like you've mentioned before, like how prayer is really meditation. I think that people need to engage in sort of self-awareness, self-care, and think about how they, like, the space they occupy amongst the rest of us. And that can be managed many different ways.
The tenets of religion, of most religions, are good things, right? They draw you in. I think that's what scares me is, for instance, if you look at Scientology and these people that are trying to get you to come in and take their personality test or whatever, to me that shit's scary, because they are looking for where you have vulnerable spots, because we all have them, and it feels good to have those vulnerable spots filled. I think it just gives me pause, because it's like I feel the same way about psychics. I feel the same way about all of that, it is tapping into something that we all have a lack of, and mentioning a city without a lot of camaraderie, and we do need fellowship. We are social beings. Like that is a very easy way to do that. But then it starts whittling away at your other values, and I don't like the feeling of having to change to be part of a group.
Well, what you described is interesting because I think you could apply that to a lot of things.
I agree.
Like
yes.
people who are super into CrossFit and then they spend all their fucking free time at the box and that's like their religion. Or fucking vegans who can't stop talking to you about why you shouldn't consume animal products. Or, I mean, you can apply that to people who are super into like RPGs or what. I
agree. Yeah.
I think that there needs to be a balance and that we cannot allow a singular sort of concept or function to control who we are. I really like the idea of pulling inspiration from a lot of areas to try to piece together like a life and an understanding that provides us with enough comfort to get through this shitty ass world. So I respect almost all of it.
Sure. You know, I don't want to... Again, you can easily become the thing you hate. I don't want to live in a world where there aren't people that think the opposite of me or think differently than me. Everybody has something that they can teach you.
Yes.
I do agree. I do believe that. I just, yes, I do have a reaction.
My wish
I
for
need to
you,
fix my face.
Yes, my wish for you is that you wouldn't have this automatic reaction because whenever you do that, I think that, there are people who when they see us or they hear us talk about something gay or something, you know, there were some recent comments on a video about like, why does everything have to be about race and whatever? And I immediately, when you do that about Christianity, that's like, I start to think like, just like these fucking ignorant ass people who have these automatic reactions to anything that's gay or about blackness or whatever. You know, or talking about trans people and people have this automatic negative reaction. So that's where my mind goes. But anyway, This conversation was longer than I intended, but I guess it's appropriate considering today's Easter. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I don't know what Easter's about except an excuse for me to get some Cadbury eggs.
Well, that's the pagan side of the holiday. That's the pagan capitalist side.
Yeah, this is the capitalist side of Easter that I'm into. But anyway, moving on. So we've had many questions over, you know, the past year and a half or whatever about our skincare routine, which I find laughable because we really don't have a skincare routine to speak of. But I said that I would talk about it, so you can start.
I don't really have a skincare routine. I do moisturize every day, which I don't know that I started doing until I started dating you.
So that's funny because I think a common stereotype is why people, you know, don't use wash rags, don't wash all their body, and also don't moisturize.
I do wash all my body.
You do wash all of your body, but I don't. So yeah, when I met you, you weren't using lotion?
Well, I was 23, and we weren't. Yeah, that's not how I grew up. I wasn't taught.
Did I say something to you about lotion?
You were asking, where's your lotion?
Where's your fucking lotion? If you didn't have any.
But now I don't go anywhere without it. Like if I were to shower and not put lotion on my face, I can automatically, my skin can feel it.
So, but to be clear about your skincare routine, so Nick uses one soap for his entire body, and then he uses one moisturizer for his entire body.
No, what kind of soap? Now I use that cocoa butter.
What kind of soap do you usually like? You usually like to buy like Old Spice body wash.
Yeah, I do. Well, because it's just easy.
And you use your hands.
Yeah.
You don't use a loofah or a...
Well, I was also taught that loofahs carry a lot of germs.
Sure.
So...
and then for your lotion, for years and years and years and years, you've used the Vaseline Intensive Care for Men.
From Target. From
Target. Like that... Because it says face and body, I believe.
Yeah, and I like the smell.
You've used that, and it does smell good. And then very recently... because I like to use cocoa butter, you started using cocoa butter. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
I like the smell.
I think it's funny because sometimes when I wear cocoa butter and nothing else, because I like fragrances like cologne. So usually the cologne will overpower the cocoa butter. But if I'm only wearing lotion like cocoa butter, and sometimes I'll be in a space where like someone, usually a white person, will be like, what is that smell? And it's like, bitch, this is cocoa butter. Okay. It's just cocoa butter. Clearly you're not used to being around people who use cocoa butter because it's a very familiar smell. But yeah, so I have issues with eczema. So I just use like the Dove Free and Clear for sensitive skin bar soap.
Yeah, you have much more sensitive skin than I do.
Yeah. And I usually use like the washing gloves. So I put on the gloves and then I'll lather up my body and use that to scrub my body. And then I like cocoa butter or I'll use like CeraVe body cream or something like that. And then for my face, I'll use like a sensitive skin like foaming wash. I like the one from Sephora a lot, which is actually quite cheap.
And also just being super hydrated.
Yes, so let me finish. So
Sorry.
then, no. And then for my face, I use like the CeraVe, like just the moisturizing cream that has nothing in it. But I think being on camera makes our skin look nicer because there's like a light in front of us and then I can adjust the exposure on the camera, which helps a lot. And then I use like a high def like primer, like a loose powder.
Okay.
So I do put a little product on my face.
Oh, I don't.
You don't. But you don't really need to. I look greasy sometimes if I don't. So, those products are intended to reflect light. Mm-hmm. So they just automatically blur your skin. So I think if you ever see me in person in direct sunlight, you would probably think that my skin looks different than it does in like a...
I don't think so. But
no, my face is not a wreck, but...
Not at all. Come on.
It's just interesting because I think I don't think... No one has ever said to me in real life, you have such beautiful skin.
Okay.
Like, I've never been told that. So I think it's funny to then be told, well, yeah, because it's a video. Like, I have this bright light in front of me. Mm-hmm. Everyone looks better with a bright light. But my sister inspired me, 3 years ago? So my sister drinks like a gallon of water every day. And she had this container that had times of day on it. So then I ordered one. And ever since then, I've been drinking a gallon of water every day. And then you started doing that. Mm-hmm. And I do think drinking a gallon of water every day has really changed.
Well, it's good for weight loss. It helps your body process things.
And it's helped my skin a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
you also have to urinate frequently.
I do urinate. I have an enlarged prostate, so that pushes on your bladder. Mm-hmm. So that also causes me to have to pee constantly.
Road trips are a lot.
Going anywhere, going downtown or going to West Hollywood where bathrooms aren't always
panic.
There's panic. Okay, moving on. We also mentioned something that now I feel like I don't know if we need to talk about it, but we had watched several things about serial killers, and then in one of the videos we talked about who we were going to mention on the podcast about. Oh, it was for the John Wayne Gacy video. You wanted to elaborate on gay culture and hookups, and then I said, well, we can talk about it on the podcast. But I feel like we've already talked about that, just how the gay culture and hookup culture has accepted just...
Let strangers in your house.
You will literally let strangers in your house and inside of your body, and you don't know their name.
Yeah.
You haven't verified anything. They've messaged you from a profile that has no verifying qualifications to it. It's just this random blank thing messaged you and sent you a picture of their penis, and now they're at your house. Mm-hmm. And I've heard so many stories of people being robbed, beat up, attempted robbery. Obviously... watching, there was a famous case in the UK several years ago of a man who was meeting other men on Grindr and killing them and burying them in a cemetery not far from his damn apartment.
But he was injecting them with chemicals.
Yes, but he was luring them in with the app.
And then we had the lovely Ed Buck in West Hollywood killing young black men.
Well, and using drugs to lure them and prime them. So, I don't know what else there is to say except people need to be careful. There's a certain level of, I think, self-respect we need to have. And this is not about shaming, sex shaming. I think it's more about you need to know that you deserve to feel comfortable with whatever interactions you're having. And my advice to people, young and old, who are on these apps and meeting people, and maybe it's just because I am full of myself in some regards, and I just think, like, if you don't want to verify who you are, if you refuse to, send me a location pin or tell me your name or show me your social media or send me a video, or FaceTime me or whatever you need to feel comfortable, you deserve that. Now, some of y'all are too stupid to even realize that you need these things. But for those of you who second guess, and, I'm saying all this, but now I feel shitty because last night we went out and we had a good time. And we met some people and then went to their place and we had a nice time. So it's not about that. It's about us leaving these people's home. And we called it Lyft. And when the Lyft showed up, it wasn't the car that I had ordered. So, it'll tell you the driver's name, which happened to be my name. We had the same name. And then we were supposed to get into a red Ford Focus. And then a white Chevrolet Suburban pulls up. And immediately he rolls down the window like, hey, Joseph, don't worry about the car, blah, 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 all the things. And instantly I knew I should not get in this car. And you didn't know that it wasn't the car, except that he started saying it. And then, of course, we were both intoxicated. And it was like 3:30 in the morning. Yeah. So, and we were only 2.3 miles from our home. So I thought, okay, we're two adult men. I guess I felt safe stupidly. But we got in that car and took that ride, and that man was intoxicated. He was swerving in his lane.
He was a chatty motherfucker.
Yeah.
I had to talk to him.
So after we got out of the car, I felt really bad because I shouldn't have gotten that car. Like, I knew that I shouldn't have done that. So it's about being present and aware and
Well, even what we did, we were cutting corners because we waited forever because the hour it was.
We waited forever because, yes, so we did cut corners. But again, and so that's a good, getting back to the hookup situation, I think a lot of times people are obviously, if they're looking for sex, they're probably, needing to satisfy something. And then, you start to get you need to do this thing, and then all of a sudden you make concessions and cut corners, and we really need to take a step back. Because the other thing too is I've always thought, I don't want to shit where I eat. A lot of y'all just engage with people who are in your neighborhood, and it's you're creating all these awkward connections with people because you're building something that's very flimsy on something very flimsy. And then it's so what? In the course of a year, you will have slept with every gay person in a mile radius of where you live, and that, I'm not judging. Do what you want to do, but be safe, feel comfortable, because there are people out here killing folks and robbing folks and stealing their identities, and you're leaving yourself very vulnerable.
Well, because gay men don't really have a system that I noticed a lot of women have, where they tell their friends where they're going, and in films even, that's usually a plot point. Gay men don't do that.
I shouldn't say I don't have any friends because some of them might be listening, but I have very few friends. But if you know me, even if you don't know me and you are going to send me a message of where you're going. Send someone a message. Even if you don't know me, you can DM me on Instagram and be like, hey bitch, I'm about to hook up with this man at 123 Main Street, just so you know.
Well, I think we have a false sense of security in that there's going to be CCTV footage.
Yes.
And that somebody's going to be able to track where you were on your phone.
That's a good point, yes.
Which they can, but you're also...
It'll be too late.
And by the time authorities get to you for whatever reason.
That's the same mentality of it's all fun and games until you end up in the ICU. Yes, we do have this false sense of security, but that it won't matter once someone steals your fucking wallet or busts you upside the head and rummages through your house, or worse, kills you. So just be careful and... Yeah. Let me open up a cold pop. Hold on.
Get it. Get that.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Dr. Pepper Cherry Zero Sugar.
Except no, it's not, because I don't have a check from them.
Except no, it's not. Okay, RuPaul's Drag Race, season 14. It was the reunion episode.
Ooh.
So finally, episode... what episode was this? Episode
15.
15. Episode 15 was the reunion. We watched it at Precinct, the gay bar in downtown LA. It was cute.
It was cute.
It was all about conflict.
Yeah, well, they're always trying to hype that, but
Yeah.
I forgot there was so much conflict with Jasmine.
Poor thing.
Well, it was nice to see Diabetti kind of go through it.
Oh, we also watched. So we were watching it, and Deja Sky was at the bar, like
Narrating a little bit,
narrating.
yeah.
So that was actually quite fun
Yeah.
because she gave a lot of like little
Tidbits.
behind the scenes things that she probably shouldn't have said, and I don't want to repeat because I don't want to. I'm not a snitch, but yeah. Probably the biggest thing was some sort of redemption for Diabetti.
I guess.
Bitch, let me say this, because all the queens were trying to defend her. Some of them saying like,
Not George's.
Well, not George's and not Jasmine, but saying that like it's a stressful situation and the way people act under stress. I'm sorry, I disagree. If your default when you're under pressure is to be an asshole, then you're just a fucking asshole.
Then that's the quality of a shit person. But no, we all have the ability to grow. So hopefully Diabetti grows from this. But it's
She can't get any bigger.
It's just like, oh, I'm not ready to be a parent, so inherently I'm going to be a shitty one because I wasn't ready.
And then you're going to use that as your excuse
No.
to your fucked up kid when they're 23. Like, I wasn't ready. Like, well, it's too late now, girl.
Yeah, I didn't know how to act. I was too young. Those are just excuses that by the time you're hearing them, you don't want to hear them, and I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear from Diabetti.
Yeah, after 14 episodes of you being rancid, I don't care that. And then she still was like, had that. Yeah, she still has that like, that repulsive personality.
Well, it's funny because she said like how Jasmine talks at all the wrong times. It's like, well, girl, you can't read the room either. Trying to, yeah.
And also, Jasmine seems like someone who feels like she needs to do something. Mm-hmm. And yes, it can be grating, but I think it comes from a place that isn't as egotistical as Diabetti. Diabetti seems like she thinks she knows best.
No, she criticized Jasmine for, talking out of turn, but she doesn't know how to read a room either, because then she's saying something and then it's like, oh, but I'm the better looking version of you.
Mm-hmm. She can't help herself. So to me, that just means like you're just a nasty person. And there are a lot of y'all out there like that. No, it's true. Some people just cannot help themselves. They have to be bitchy, shady.
But if you take a step back, it's because of how they've been made to feel about themselves, and not to make excuses for them, but that behavior comes from somewhere. It's just, do you have the energy to show them that grace?
Right. And then Maddie Morphosis received the Golden Boot Award for like the worst outfit of the season. Mm-hmm. And it was the outfit she went home on, where she was like a Raggedy Ann looking doll.
I mean, it wasn't good.
It was terrible. But that's all I have to say.
She had a really, because then they opened the library and Orion's story stumbled. And Maddie Morphosis said something like, how's your last name going to be Story if you can't even read?
There are some good lines in there. Oh, and then who told Deja Sky? They were like, girl, you have a lot, like you and Jesus have a lot in common.
You have 12 followers.
You both have 12 followers.
Oh, there's Cornbread.
Cornbread said that. Oh, also, I like Cornbread. Mm-hmm. Like, I think she's talented, fun to watch, and I've seen her many times because I think Precinct is her home bar. Mm-hmm. And then she used to perform at Redline, maybe. Yeah. I know I've seen her numerous times. But she also kind of has a attitude problem. Like, she seems like she thinks she knows best, like she's mother, and I don't like that either.
Sure. Again, though, we get more of a backstory about her trauma.
We do, but...
Again, that all makes sense, but...
Anyway, moving on from RuPaul's Drag Race. Okay.
Oh, you know what's that thing I thought was stupid? Is at the end of this thing, Deja Sky and, was it Meatball, the host, were asking what team you're on for the final five. And for those who cheered for Bosco, they're like, oh, all the Caucasians. Then everybody really applauded for Willow Pill. It's like, well, aren't those the same people?
Deja Sky is also a person of color, and I think, just speaking from experience, I think a lot of people of color sometimes like to throw out like those sort of comments,
sure, yeah,
that just don't make any damn sense.
Like, it doesn't make it like all of the,
it's part of their shtick.
Of the top five, 4 of those people are white.
I get irritated when people say, "Why does everything have to be about race?" But this is an example of like making something about race that makes no damn sense. Like, what she said made no sense. Okay, I'm going to read to you a headline. Ramiro Alanis, a Marvel-obsessed superfan from Florida, has set the record for the most cinema productions attended of the same film after seeing Spider-Man No Way Home 292 times between December 16th, 2021 and March 15th of this year. That's only 90 days. By that math, Ramiro would have had to watch the movie 3.24 times a day, and he says he shelled out $3,400 for tickets.
I would say that this person has issues with compulsion.
I thought that movie was cute, but 292 times in 90 days? And for what purpose?
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought that was wild. Another thing that's happening is Ali Wong and her husband are divorcing after 8 years of marriage.
That's a bummer.
Well, you know what I think?
Based on her stand-up.
We've watched her 3 stand-up specials, and that bitch talks a lot of shit about her marriage.
She does.
So what does she expect?
Sure.
You're not going to disrespect me like constantly and make a joke out of my marriage to you.
But men do that to women all the time.
And constantly emasculate me.
But men do that to women all the time.
Sure, but that doesn't mean you can do it to me.
Sure.
Like, yeah, you're right. You're right. But it's just like, it's one thing. It would be one thing if she... Like, the commentary makes sense and it's fair, but it's like, you are talking about your actual husband. How long is this person supposed to sit back and you constantly... And again, I don't know these people. I'm just going off what she said in her comedy specials, but constantly saying, like, how she makes a lot more money than him and she only married him because he went to, like, Stanford Business School or Harvard, whatever, Harvard Business School, and that she thought... Because his family made her sign a prenup. Mm-hmm. So she does have a prenup, but it's the other way around because she's the rich one. I just think, like, I don't know. If you talked about me the way she talks about her husband, we would have a reckoning, a serious fucking problem.
Sure.
You're not gonna do, it's just too much. And I wouldn't do that. It's just too much.
Well, it doesn't feel good.
It's just too much.
But it's just, what was it, Robin Thicke talking about his sex life with Paula
Right.
Patton?
Yeah.
Because I remember all that period and being like, does she think it's okay that you're saying that?
It would be one thing if it was like our shtick and
Sure.
and it wasn't based in reality. Like, you know, maybe we've made a lot of money with this fake dynamic we've created for ourselves, but we know,
like Lisa Lampanelli.
Yes, like Lisa Lampanelli.
Or Amy Schumer even.
Or even like Amy, yeah. But like, it seems like this shit is very accurate to what her actual marriage is like, and I guess that shit didn't pay off for her. But or I don't know. Her last special, it sounded like there's all she wants to be able to fuck other men. So now
That's
your
true,
chance, girl.
There you go.
You know. So I'm happy for you. Okay, so our new section. Sorry to this man. I have 2 entries. One is for Fantastic Beasts.
Uh-huh.
We referred to Ezra Miller as him twice.
Yes.
But Ezra Miller's preferred pronouns are they, them.
True, but...
So sorry to this, them.
But they were playing a character that identifies as...
yeah, but you weren't referring to the character name.
Wasn't.
You were referring to this person's name. So, you know, we definitely didn't mean to make that mistake.
True,
and then also, for the film Choose or Die... I referred to the lead male actor as looking like Frankie Munoz.
Oh, and it's
Frankie's name is Frankie Muniz,
okay.
like M-U-N-Y-Z, not M-U-N-Y-O-Z. So I kept saying Munoz, but it's Muniz. So I definitely want to correct that.
Okay.
Which is amusing to me because all the crazy shit I talk, and it's like, let me correct the last name I missed.
Preemptively, because I don't think you edited it out, I asked him a name question in the next Moon Knight.
Oh yeah, you seem frustrated about a question you asked about the
Sahara versus the Gobi. And even as I said it, I was like, well, I know the Gobi's not anywhere near the Sahara. But anyway, there's that coming.
There's that, yeah, future retraction. Okay, moving on to films released we didn't cover. The Tale of King Crab.
There were several art house films that Joseph couldn't be bothered with this week. But yes.
Because I'm busy.
Yeah, well, we did do a lot. But The Tale of King Crab that I saw at Cannes last year in the Director's Fortnight, highly recommended Italian film. Also Paris 13th District, which was in competition at Cannes. Jacques Audiard, who's usually a filmmaker I more or less like, but I hated this movie. I hated it. Oh. It's about youth culture, exploring their sexuality.
Oh, I remember you talking about this one
God,
when you saw it initially.
I mean, it has its fans, and it looks nice. It's in black and white. But
And then moving on, we got a couple comments about reviewing The Cellar.
I did ask if you wanted to see it. You did not. Starring Alicia Cuthbert, who is an It Girl in 2004, 5, 6?
I don't know her. Moving on to movies we watch for fun. So after watching the documentary about John Wayne Gacy on Netflix, after watching the documentary about the Stainer family on Hulu, we watched a short documentary about that man in, I believe it was Germany, who found a man
the cannibal.
The man who this man found a man who agreed to let him eat him.
Mm-hmm. And I'd recommended another 2017 documentary called Cannibal.
So we were all into like serial killers and cannibalism.
As one
does. So then we thought it'd be a fun Friday night. Did we watch it Friday night? Citizen X.
Yeah, most of it.
Which you explained was a very popular movie at your house as kids.
Yeah, which I
find funny.
5th grade, but I remember my dad loving this movie. About Citizen Chikatilo. This was a big deal. I think it was the new Saturday night movie on HBO when we had first gotten cable.
It's about a prolific serial killer in Russia who admitted to killing 56 people, was convicted of killing 52 people, and he was basically killing all like young men and women, people of all ages except adult men, by luring them from train stations, and then he was like brutally murdering them, biting off their genitals, doing really weird stuff to their bodies.
He had lots of sex, and my dad, I remember, watched many other documentaries that are available about him at the time. So I remember details like the only way he got his wife pregnant was coming
because he suffered from erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
So he would have to
push the semen in with his fingers.
He would have to ejaculate through masturbation and then ejaculate on her vagina and then push the semen in. And that's how they were able to get her pregnant 3 times.
Yeah.
But Citizen X is available currently on HBO Max. I would recommend it. It's entertaining, but it is
a perfect example of why English should not be the language used when that's not the originating language.
Yeah, this accented English is so bad. I do have to say, Donald Sutherland is
playing such a bitch.
Oh my God. But I kind of wish we would have reviewed this movie because I wanted to take notes, but I didn't. But there's so much about it that's kind of laughable. But aside from that, it was riveting.
Yeah, of course. The material. And somebody else covered this. Daniel Espinosa directed a movie in 2015 called Child 44 with Noomi Rapace and Tom Hardy, which touches on this. But I remember leaned heavily into something that's really only kind of suggested here is the propaganda machine of Russia. Is this man got away with things for so long because the Soviet Union didn't want to make it seem that like crime wasn't possible.
They didn't want to admit that they had a serial killer. They didn't want to admit that they had to use psychiatrists to assist in finding. They didn't want to admit a lot of things or ask for help from, because
because it was serial killers were, there's a line in the movie about how they're a decadent Western problem.
Because the lead investigator requested contact with the FBI in Quantico to try to
get the shit moving.
Yeah, and they were like, under no circumstances are we asking for help. So it was very frustrating watching this go down. And, it is a made-for-TV movie, so there are liberties taken. But even with that, fascinating. Okay.
It was directed by Chris Girolamo, who is the writer of Mississippi Burning. But the script is not good. And,
no, it's not.
And poor Stephen Ray is doing his best. The Neil Jordan muse. I guess you're only familiar with from Crying Game, but is in every Neil Jordan movie. Yeah,
I would recommend it, but it's not an excellent movie.
But you got Max von Sydow, Jeffrey DeMunn is creepy as Chikatilo, Imelda Staunton plays Stephen Ray's wife, and then of course Joss Ackland as the very over-the-top closeted homosexual that is in charge of the propaganda department or whatever.
All right, so we watched episodes 3 and 4 of Joe versus Carol. Mm-hmm. No, we watched episodes 4 and 5.
No, I think it's 3 and 4.
No, because we watched 1 through 3. We talked about 1 through 3 last time.
Oh, I don't remember.
We watched episodes 4 and 5.
Okay.
My opinion hasn't changed. It's still...
It's grown on me a little bit.
It has grown on me because we're getting more into Joe Exotic and the more sensational stuff. And I think John Cameron Mitchell is doing a much better job with the material than Kate McKinnon.
I agree, but
Carol Baskin's story is touching, just as a woman who was sort of abused and had to really fight for what she had. But the way Kate McKinnon's playing her is just kind of grating still.
I am surprised at the amount of kind of empathy, despite those setbacks in the performance, that I feel for this portrayal of Carol Baskin as, you know, a woman who's probably done some dirt to get where she is, but also has suffered greatly, you know, as a whole woman in this world. And I do like her chemistry with Kyle MacLachlan.
Kyle MacLachlan in episodes 4 and 5, he's getting a lot more airtime, and he's fun to watch.
Yeah.
So I do think, like, I'll probably want to finish the episodes. But lastly, you watched Kinuyo Tanaka retrospect. Oh, what? Wait, what?
I'm covering a retrospective. I still have to finish the last film. Kinuyo Tanaka, who is a very famous Japanese actress. She was in quite a few of Kenji Mizoguchi's most famous films. Like, she's the lead in The Life of Oharu. She's in Sansa the Bailiff. But she was the second woman to direct films in Japan. She did 6 of them across like 1954 or 5 to 1962. She directed 6 films. And Janus Films is releasing the retrospective of them this week in New York and LA, I want to say. And I'm supposed to cover them. But so I watched them all basically back to back this week. So those are my fun films. But I really liked her first film, Love Letter, and her second to last film, Girl of Night, which is about prostitutes. And if you like depressing movies about sex workers, this is for you. And it reminds me very much of Mizoguchi's last film, Street of Shame, which I consider a classic. And
is that the street we live on?
Wherever I go is the Street of Shame. But it's, you know, her backstory is interesting as well, because she's very prolific, went on to, like, was in hundreds of film productions. And just even her struggle to get into the Directors Guild, like Mizoguchi, who was kind of her main bread and butter, voted against her. And so, of course, that they never worked again together. But what's his name? Who directed her? Oh, The Ballad of Narayama, late 1950s Japanese film. It was remade by Shoei Imamura in 84. Excellent movie, and she's in that. And she was buddy-buddy with the director, Keisuke Kinoshita, who's gay, and he wrote the script for her first film. Was very supportive of her.
Excellent. Okay, projects of interest. Royal Hotel.
Oh, Kitty Green has another film that she's doing with Julia Garner, because Julia Garner was previously in The Assistant. Kitty Green also did that Creating Jean Bonnet. I'm forgetting the name of that hybrid documentary. She has a new film. Who else is in it? Jessica Henwick and Hugo Weaving. It sounds like it's based on a true story thriller.
Okay, and then Two and Only.
Ariana DeBose is producing a film that is described as a bisexual Latina is my best friend's wedding.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, there is an entry in the obituary section. The Lord took Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that movie, Who's Killing the Great Chefs of Europe? Like, who's killing all these comedians? Because I saw some picture of Jeff Ross and all the people that are, like, Norm Macdonald, Gilbert Gottfried, and somebody else.
Yeah, well, you know, his voice is what really sticks into my mind, and obviously, like, in the 90s, he was a very popular figure in a lot of, like, comedies, and I don't know much about him except his voice, and that he was a very crass comedian.
Yes, and he had a very successful
I know that
podcast as well.
And then, you know, he was part of those Jeff Ross roasts where one time he showed up as Hitler.
Yeah,
he plays Hitler in a movie. He's in that movie with Christy Swanson and Ben Stiller, and he plays Hitler. We reviewed it on the podcast.
Highway to Hell?
Highway to Hell. Isn't Gilbert...
Ben Stiller?
Ben Stiller's in it.
I don't remember Ben Stiller in Highway to Hell.
Who plays Zoolander?
Ben Stiller?
Yeah, he's in Highway to Hell.
Oh, yes, but it's an early role. He's like...
Wait.
He's got a side...
But isn't he in it?
Yeah.
So what difference does it make if it's an early one?
Well, because Chad Lowe was the lead.
Oh, yes, but Gilbert Gottfried's in it as Hitler. So he...
Well, yes, he is. I remember him most probably as Iago from The Lion King.
But I don't know. I don't
Or
know.
Aladdin,
How
sorry.
old was he? Do you know?
He's in his 60s.
Oh, now I feel like I need to say. And do we know what he passed from?
No.
Okay, he was 67. He was 67. And it seems like he had a condition that caused him to pass. I don't know what ventricular tachycardia is, complicated by type 2 myotonic dystrophy, but dystrophy, I don't know.
Well, tachycardia is heart.
Irregular heartbeat, but I mean, due to probably some valves, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, goodbye to this man. Okay, I need to powder my nose. 1 second. All right, fresh as a daisy. So, I don't know what inspired our secret movie this week.
Oh, we talked about, because I'd never seen it, and you hadn't either.
I haven't either, which is surprising.
But we often talk about how, we should watch that.
We should watch Stella Got Her Groove Back.
How Stella Got Her Groove Back.
How Stella Got Her Groove Back. I'm sorry. The 1998 romantic comedy drama directed by Kevin Rodney Sullivan, adapted from Terry McMillan's best-selling 1996 novel of the same title. It stars Angela Bassett, Taye Diggs in his film debut, Whoopi Goldberg, Regina King, among others.
Susanna Douglas, Richard Lawson.
Beyonce's stepdaddy's in it. Okay, the basic story. So Angela Bassett plays a successful, like, Wall Street type person. Broker.
Who lives in San Francisco.
Who lives in San Francisco in a beautiful home. She is a single mother. When one day her best friend, played by Whoopi Goldberg, says, "Girl, let's go to Jamaica." After, like, just to get away. And then Angela agrees, goes, meets this man half her age. So Angela's character is 40, and she meets Taye Diggs, who's playing a 20-year-old. They hook up. They have like a little 2-day fling. But then he ends up not being able... He can't spend any more time with her because he starts working. And we'll get into that because I thought it was unreasonable that she was upset about that. And then she goes back home and then realizes that she wants to see him. So they start this long-distance relationship. Of course, her family, namely her older sister... Well, not older. Is Regina King her sister?
They're both her sisters.
Okay, so Susanna Douglas and Regina King are her sisters. But Suzanne, she is very much against it, which we can get into because she's married to a white man. So I don't know.
She's going in so hard.
She's going in so hard.
But you married a white man.
You're married to a white man.
That you're having a child with, but okay.
Which is obviously not a problem to be, but I think for
it's
for the 90s, and then for her having such a problem with her sister dating a 20-year-old. But anyway, ultimately, they decide to get married, the end. So the story is very basic.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
So...
But, arrives at kind of the zenith of, in the 90s, black films.
Okay, we need to talk about two things, because I want to talk about Terry McMillan, which is going to lead us into DL men. So men who are masquerading as heterosexual when really they're having sex with other men. Which Terry McMillan is very familiar with.
Yes.
But, so we'll talk about Terry McMillan in a second. But just going through my little notes for this movie, and you have some too, right? Okay. So, I thought the best part of the movie was Regina King.
She's a lot of fun.
She is so funny. She's the sister who's like, she's a paramedic. Her wig is like very like Salt and Pepper 1987, like the asymmetrical mushroom bob. But she's so funny. I think she's funnier than Whoopi.
Whoopi's pretty good. Whoopi gets to hit a few different kind of notes, though.
Whoopi, okay, but anyway, getting back to Regina King, she has, like, every scene she's in, she's funny. She plays, like, an ambulance driver, paramedic, who's always, like, she obviously loves her sister, Angela, and thinks her other sister, Suzanne, is, like, a stick in the mud. And seems to always need something from her sister, like money or borrow her car. I really, really enjoyed that role. Okay, Whoopi. First of all, Whoopi looks beautiful.
Of course, yeah.
She's beautiful, but they make her look frumpy.
They put her in frumpy clothes because she's supposed to be the friend that doesn't exercise. She also, come to find, has a medical issue.
I think the writing of that character is a little, because it's like every scene she's in, it's like she's like they're trying really hard to make her funny, but then her story arc changes dramatically halfway through because she finds out she has cancer and she's gonna die right away, like in a matter of weeks. So there's a moment where Angela has to fly back from Jamaica to New York to see her best friend, and then we attend her funeral.
It's a good scene.
It is, okay. Angela Bassett was 38.
She is breathtaking.
She is perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was trying to look up who did her makeup, but the hair situation gets a little interesting because in the beginning scenes, she has like individual box braids and they look gorgeous. But then the second half of the movie, it's clear that she's wearing a wig and that they just have the front section of her hair braided and it's out, but then the rest of it is like a wig. So I don't know if that was just the filming took longer or I don't know what happened, but Angela Bassett looks perfect. Which is almost a detriment to the story.
Well, yeah, because it's a woman that looks like this is really...
Who's that successful.
Is acting so demure about men liking her.
She's acting too... Yeah, you're right. She just...
Like, oh my God, this 20-year-old likes me? Yeah.
Someone like her who looks like that would not be so... Taken aback by a handsome young man. Yeah, her response to him just seems so off, but she is stunning. Yeah, she's stunning. It's just fun to watch her. So Suzanne Douglas plays the uptight sister who's pregnant and married to the white man, and she is so vehemently opposed to Angela dating this 20-year-old, even though she's saying it's just fun, it's just a fling. Like, who knows when it'll end, but, I just want to explore it. And she's very pregnant, wearing very bad wigs.
Yes.
And very bad, her makeup's bad because they put her in like blue eyeshadow with like a Mars Attacks wig at one point.
Also, sorry to this woman who passed.
And then she did pass. But she's stunning. And who says to her, like, why don't you induce labor so you can hurry up and have someone to tell what to do?
Angela says that.
Oh, yeah.
I also like towards the end at the barbecue where Regina King says to her, will you just shut the fuck up?
Yeah. Regina, every line out of her mouth is funny. So Taye Diggs' character, when Angela first meets him, it's at breakfast at the resort in Jamaica. He is coming on so strong. And we need to keep that in the back of our mind because when we talk about Terry McMillan, I think you brought up a good point watching this after, because you didn't know much about him until after we watched the movie.
Correct. About the husband.
I had already known about Terry McMillan's real life husband, who this movie is kind of loosely based on.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that. But he comes on so strong.
He says so many things. I'm like, oh, he's
red flag.
He's playing her.
Yeah. But we'll get to it. Okay. So then the first night he and Angela hang out, they go to a dance party, which I thought was cute. Because there's a subplot of Whoopi Goldberg having met two like retired like baseball players or football, whatever, some sport. And of course they're like rich. And one of them is Richard Lawson and the other one is
Henley.
And they're not the most appealing gentlemen, but she's out at this dance party, which I thought was funny because all of a sudden the vibe of the party changes and everyone's getting naked.
Yeah.
I didn't know they get down like that at these luxury resorts in Jamaica.
Well, the funny thing is they make, what's his name? Even Richard Lawson, they give him a stutter because technically he looks fine.
Yeah, Richard Lawson it's weird, like how they're trying to play them, but whatever.
Barry Shabaka Henley is Buddy, and he takes his robe off, and we're made to think that his body's grotesque. It's not.
I think he looked fine.
He looked fine.
I mean, his face is the issue probably, but okay. So Angela, her character hooks up with Taye Diggs,
whose name is Winston Shakespeare.
And they seem to have fun. So then they're like really into each other. But he explains to her, like, my dad's a doctor. He wants me to be a doctor. I'm still debating if I want to go to medical school, but I'm here at this resort because I want to get a job here. So then he tells her, like, look, I have good news. I got a job at the restaurant here at the resort, which is what he wanted. Mm-hmm. But they want me to start now. And I'm going to be working day, night.
I have 2 hours free a day.
I only have 2 hours of free time a day. And she is mad.
Oh, her face cracks.
I thought that was so unreasonable. Like, this man, her character, but I think we'll talk about Terry McMillan. They go, so then she returns home and then they go back to Jamaica to spend more time together. And there's a scene where they're sitting at a bar and they're trying to play this thing again. I think Angela Bassett may not have been the best person to play this character because they try to make it seem like they look so weird together.
Right.
And if anything, I'm thinking, why would she be with a man like Taye Diggs? Because this woman looks perfect.
He feels out of her league in a way that how could she be interested in him other than sex?
But there's a scene where they're at a bar and the bartender is a woman, a young woman. And she's just being very aggressive about like, oh, you're with your mom. And they're playing along like, yeah, this is my mom. And then they start making out. I thought that was uncomfortable.
It was, yeah.
Pretending to make out with your mom. Then again, there's another scene where Taye Diggs and Angela go see a movie.
That's called My Last Nerve.
That's called My Last Nerve. And it's funny because it's basically making fun of films that would be in line with like a Tyler Perry Medea movie. Mm-hmm. So it's supposed to sort of seem like it's beneath Angela.
Yeah.
Because her uptight sister is trying to set her up with a judge.
Played by Carl Lumley.
So they all, which I thought was really weird, they all go to the movies. Like, so these three couples go to the movies, but they all don't go into the same movie. Mm-hmm. But they don't know that. Mm-hmm. So the other two couples, Angela's sister and the judge with his girlfriend, go to like a serious dramatic piece. And then Taye and Angela go to My Last Nerve. And then when they come out, the sister's like, oh, where did you end up sitting? I didn't see you. What did you think about the final scene? And then Angela says, well, actually, we saw My Last Nerve. And they're trying to make it seem like you're too mature for this. Mm-hmm. And then the judge like hits on Angela in front of not only her date, but his date. Mm-hmm. But even before that, when they're waiting in line, they make it seem like these younger women come by.
And are so into
Taye and they're looking at Angela. And it's like, that didn't quite... It didn't make sense to me because Angela, I thought, was prettier than the three women.
She's more beautiful and she is very fit and intimidating. Like
yeah. If I saw that version of Angela Bassett in line and then these three women, I'd be like, y'all bitches better you better lay low. Like I don't know what you're doing, trying to like roll your eyes at a woman who looks like that.
Right. Her biceps are.
Well, just her face. I mean, she just looks perfect.
She does, yeah.
So it was just wild that they're kind of rolling their eyes at her and like so into Taye.
Yeah, how could this
Whose haircut is... Because, his hairline's always been a little rough. Mm-hmm. Like, I think he started going bald when he was young. So his hairline is back. He has like a six head. So his hair...
He was handsome.
He's very handsome, but I think he should have had a buzzed head or shaved head.
And you made a comment early on because he's actually much darker than the man he's based on.
I was glad that they cast a darker skinned man because I feel like, especially in Hollywood... Oh, we didn't even talk about the director. Is the director a white man?
No, well, he's also directed Barbershop 2 and Guess Who, so I would assume not. But
anyway, I feel like...
I do want to make it's unbelievable to me that this and Waiting
Kevin Rodney Sullivan is a black man.
This and Waiting to Exhale, which is directed by Forrest Whitaker, like how anyone dared to think that a man should be directing these is interesting.
Oh, sure.
Because now, I think there's a new Terry McMillan novel that Viola Davis is attached to, an adaptation. I don't know who's set to direct it, but to me it's just like, a black woman should be directing this.
Sure. I think, so getting back to the sister, just quickly, I thought it was funny that Suzanne, her character, I kind of wanted some commentary on like, you're married to a white man. Mm-hmm. So you should probably, even if your family wasn't against you doing that, which I can't imagine they would have been, certainly not Angela or Regina King's characters, you should certainly understand like how people might question your relationship and that you want them to respect your choice. So I needed a little bit from the narrative to sort of explain why she thinks,
Well, because there's something inherently classist about that, right? So Angela dating a non-citizen who's 20 years younger, Stella, is a shameful thing, whereas she's married this successful white businessman. So,
right,
that looks.
But then Regina does make a comment in the end, towards the end, where she says, not all of us have to rely on marrying a man to take care of us. Like, thank goodness Stella, because Stella's a very sort of independent, successful woman. Mm-hmm. So it does address it, and I do understand that Suzanne's character is supposed to be sort of obnoxious, but it's at a level that feels like, bitch, if my sister kept talking to me like that about my relationship, then we're just not going to be around each other.
Right.
Okay, I don't think the movie is the best made film. I think the soundtrack, which was produced by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, who are obviously known for working with so many artists, but obviously Janet Jackson's probably their biggest client, is not the best. It feels very like late 90s.
It does, but I enjoyed it up until the last probably 15 minutes.
I think the score's a little, because the soundtrack is it's heavily influenced by the soundtrack and these songs, which one of them is by Janet Jackson. There's another one by Mary J. Blige that I recall being popular called Beautiful, but it's not as strong as like a Waiting to Exhale soundtrack.
The soundtrack, no, but
yeah, and then the score. There's a scene in particular where Angela's running, like she's going on a run.
Yeah, it sounds like a thriller,
and it sounds like a thriller, like she's being chased. Yeah. There are moments, and then we transition to a shower scene. It's sort of at the climax, which is, there is a pun intended there, where she's deciding like if she actually wants to be with him, because Taye Diggs has asked Angela to marry him, and she hasn't responded. So there's a shower scene where we see Taye Diggs in the shower, we see his butt, and then they have sex in the shower, which was interesting, and then they go to the bedroom. And then it's a very interesting scene because
she's crying.
It seems like she's reached orgasm, she's crying, and then the look on his face is almost like regret. But I think it's supposed to tie into he's leaving.
Yeah.
Because he tells her, I'm deciding to go to medical school, and he leaves. And then Angela follows him to the airport. But I think it's funny because there's a scene where Taye Diggs is on his way to the airport, and we hear that there's like the 101 freeway is backed up.
Take the 280.
Take the 280. You're never going to get there in time. And then Angela's character gets there before him.
Yeah.
So she must have taken the 280. I don't know.
That's interesting.
But what would you give this film?
I would give it 2.5.
I would give it 2.5. I would definitely recommend it. But, okay, so Terry McMillan.
Oh, but there are
I'm sorry. Go through your notes. Sorry.
Again, speaking to like men, kind of. Terry McMillan adapted her novel, but it was also Ron Bass as a screenwriting credit who adapted The Joy Luck Club and My Best Friend's Wedding. So clearly, kind of in keeping with those things. I also discovered there's a My Best Friend's Wedding remake in Spanish, I think, in 2019, which was co-written by Gabriel Ripstein, who's Arturo Ripstein's son, which is fascinating to me. Also, shout out to Ruth E. Carter for doing the wardrobe. The wardrobe, which I thought looked great in Stella. So she's at least dressed Angela twice, because obviously in Black Panther as well.
In Black Panther.
To me, it was... We're going to get into the Terry McMillan aspect, but I liked... It's just a story about women having experiences that seems kind of like such a novelty.
Yeah. So Terry McMillan, she is an American novelist. She's probably one of the most successful Black female authors. Her style is very like feisty and direct in her writing, and also
she seems like a no-nonsense woman, which
in
is
her personality, which is interesting because she famously married a man named Jonathan Plummer in 1998, and her meeting him and their marriage was the inspiration for the movie How Stella Got Her Groove Back. So it's basically like loosely based on her.
Also, it doesn't really feel like Stella never had her groove, in my mind.
It did, because, as far as love goes.
As far as love,
but yeah,
she's winning.
I mean, I think the story feels very sort of, that standard, like, a woman can't be happy unless she has love.
Sure.
Because she has a beautiful son who loves her, this amazing career.
This home.
This beautiful home. She's gorgeous, but it's like, just not going to be right till I get a man.
Yeah.
So that's a little annoying. But Terry McMillan marries this man, Jonathan Plummer, in 1998. And I believe 6 years into their marriage, he comes out as gay. And there's this famous Oprah interview where he comes out as gay. And then that sort of started the conversation about DL men. So down low brothers. So this phenomenon of black men who are living their lives as heterosexuals with, marriages to women and having children and having sort of quote unquote normal lives, but secretly having sex with other men. And this is that sort of, not the height of the AIDS epidemic, but certainly HIV and AIDS were a major issue back then because people didn't have the sort of prophylaxis they have now. So watching the movie, knowing that it's loosely based on her relationship with Jonathan Plummer, there were so many little things that just felt like...
Well, first of all...
And she wrote this before she knew her husband was gay.
Yep, of course. So there are a lot of things that are like, you're in danger, girl. There's a lot in common with their romantic trajectory that's not unlike a lot of sex tourist films I've seen, like Paradise Love from Ulrich Seidel or Heading South from Laurent Contet, starring Charlotte Rampling, which focus on white women that go to these countries to have romantic and sexual liaisons with men, not unlike Taye Diggs' character. So there were a lot of things that felt very familiar.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what I wanted to say about that, except it is hard watching, because we watched a few interviews with her and then him talking alone and her talking alone. And, I feel bad.
I felt so bad for her.
Yeah. And I don't know if I've ever told this story, but quickly, when I was living in Las Vegas and working at a casino, I had a supervisor.
Oh, yeah.
Who she would constantly... And so I had a coworker. I worked in a call center for a little while, and I had a coworker who was also gay. And we were like little buddies, and we sat next to each other. And our direct supervisor was this woman, this very sweet, naive lady who was probably my age now, so in her early 40s. And all she would ever talk about is her beautiful husband and her handsome son. So of course the two little gay guys, because we were like 20, are like, well, we want to see. But this is in 99, so it's like, no one had pictures on their phones, so it was like, well, bring pictures in. So one day she brings in pictures of her son and her husband. So we see the son first, and he was hot. He was 17 and we were 20, so I'm not a creep, but... And then she shows the picture of her husband. And my coworker and I look at each other like, girl, this was a man we would see at the local gay bar Gypsies on a regular basis. So he and I went to lunch, and of course we could not get to lunch fast enough to talk about it. And we were debating, do we tell her? Well, how are we going to do this? So then we decided that we're going to try to get information from her. And she would talk about how like her husband often was gone on the weekends for business. And it's like, well, actually, it would be Saturday nights when we would see him out. And we were at the gay bar with fake IDs. So that's how we would, because I mentioned we were under 21. But one day we finally tell her. And it was really uncomfortable. She ended up getting, separating from him, having to get a second job to pay for it. Just watching the evolution of that, which is what has spawned me. And I know we've had many conversations with other people about my belief that it's that experience 24 years ago that has made me feel like if I know something about someone's relationship, I'm not telling them. If I see your man hooking up with some other lady, I'm not saying
I think
anything.
It depends on who they are to you. Your boss or, a casual friend, I don't want to be involved.
You're right. It would depend.
But my sister...
Yes, of course. It does depend, but I think for many years I was like, my name is Bennett and I ain't in it. Sure. I don't care what I see. Unless you ask me directly, I'm not saying shit.
Because, you don't know people's agreements.
But the point of that is how many times have how many times have we interacted with men who were living a double life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I used to hook up with this man back in Minnesota who, come to find out, and the only reason I found this out is one day I'm watching the news and he's on the news and he's like the head of the Catholic Church for, I don't even know, like he wasn't just like of a one church, he was like the head of
the diocese.
I don't know all the terms, but he was a big deal. And then I confronted him about it after I saw that, and then he, of course, was like being very like, please don't say anything, and then I saw him a few times after that, but it was just like, are you kidding me? Like, and then how many like married men who were like
lots,
so many, and it's just like, this shit is wild.
Well, and a few of the married men I did things with that I would confront about it, because it's not like it was always apparent. They would be like, well, I just can't find a relationship with a man the way I want it, so I have to marry this woman. Okay. But you're having sex with men still. So and she doesn't know, which is the problem, right? Like she's not part of this. She doesn't have consent, is aware of all the facts. But yes, watching this in retrospect to what happened to Terry McMillan is uncomfortable in a way that no one could anticipate.
No.
But yeah, just even watching her in that Oprah interview, it's like she doesn't even want to look at the camera.
It's embarrassing. And then, of course, getting back to her personality as an author, she's so direct and so no nonsense. And then, of course, you think, like, how could a woman like her not see that and not confront it? But I think it's a testament to, like, when people have feelings and they're in love and you become blind to a lot of things, or you make concessions. The other thing too is, like, we don't know people's relationships. We don't know what kind of agreements and understandings people have. That's why it's so important to stay out of people's business. Like, right. Which is partially why I don't, I'm very judgy and I will talk shit about everyone privately. Like, I have opinions about everyone's relationships, but I wouldn't say it to them because it's like, I don't know your situation. Mm-hmm. Maybe she did know and she felt like...
I don't think she did. But
I don't think she did, but then also seeing him is like, how could you not know?
Well, that Oprah challenging him to be like, before the age of 20, you never had a thought that you might be gay.
And she finally gets it out of him that, like, yes, but... And I felt bad for him because I can see that... I think what he was trying to explain, but maybe wasn't prepared to do so, is that from where he's from, how he was raised, being gay was not an option. So he always knew that he needs to try to fit into a box. And then he met this woman.
That was his ticket out of
Dodge. And so he conformed to that. But obviously, what is that saying? Like a tiger will show its stripes. Like, obviously you can't... Suppressing your authentic self is only going to backfire. And it did. Like, he started stepping out and having sex with men while he was still married to her. And then, of course, they had a very messy divorce because he wanted money. And then now she says they're in a better place as of like 5 years ago or whatever.
But she said, we're not BFFs.
Yeah, but they're friendly. And I think, obviously they had some connection. I mean, that's why she fell in love with him and married him. And I'm sure he was fond of her. She seems like a good time gal.
But if there's truth in it, like how the family was responding to her, and then, just the embarrassment of...
The embarrassment. Yeah, everyone's telling you, why are you with this man? And then come to find out he's a fraud. But then that language we have to be careful with, because I don't think it's tough because people like to say, like, men who turn out to be gay or, come out later in life that they were lying. And it's like, well...
Well, it's a larger problem than that.
Yes. But, so I don't like that word, like, fraud, because...
No, but it's just unfortunate because he knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing, but I also think a lot of, this gets back to like John Wayne Gacy saying that he considered himself bisexual and not gay because he never wanted a relationship with a man. But it's like, you can define things however you want to, but...
Or Roy Cohn, who said he wasn't gay because he wasn't weak.
Right. It's just like, you know what? Define it however you want to, but that shit is not working for you. So, yeah, It's interesting. But yeah, how Stella got her groove back. I'm glad I finally watched it. It makes me want to go back and watch some other Angela.
Oh, it's like 1995. It was funny looking through her filmography too. She played Betty Shabazz twice. And then in Betty and Coretta with Mary J. Blige, she's playing Coretta to Mary J's Betty.
And that's the movie where we always quote Mary J. Blige because Malcolm X and his wife had a number of children with very interesting names. One of whom was named Gamilla.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in that movie where
Mary's introducing all of Betty's children
to Coretta, and she's like, this is blah, 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 and y'all know Gamilla. We say it all the time, and I'm sure no one knows what we're talking about. But that's what we're talking about. Y'all know Gamilla. Anyway, so we have a busy week, I think.
Oh, yeah. Tonight we're seeing...
because we're visiting with family for Easter, and then this evening
tickets to see Blues for an Alabama Sky, directed by Felicia Rashad. That is at the Mark Taper Forum.
So we're seeing that this evening.
Yep, and it's based on a play by Pearl Cleage, which I just finished reading. Interestingly, Felicia Rashad, who is directing, originated the lead role back in 1995.
Oh. Mm-hmm. And then what are we watching this week? Well, we have like 5 videos that are dropping tomorrow.
we got a lot of stuff done ahead of time.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of what.
And then I don't recall any screenings we're going to.
Oh, The Bad Guys is this week.
The Bad Guy. Oh, that cartoon. Mm-hmm. I agreed to watch that.
You did.
It's in a theater?
Uh-huh.
Where?
Probably the Grove or something.
Oh, I might get some Cheesecake Factory out of it.
There you go.
Or shout anyone in LA. I don't know. Is Maggiano's a chain?
I don't know, but it was good.
Well, for anyone who lives in LA, I recently discovered. We went to Maggiano's for the first time last week with when we went to go see the movie Father Stew, because when we went to that John Cameron Mitchell bingo night that he never showed up to.
Yeah, I won bingo.
Nick won a round of bingo, so we got gift certificates to Maggiano's. They have a really good happy hour.
Oh yeah, we should go do that.
So I would recommend people check out Maggiano's for happy hour.
And if there's anyone out there that can help convince Joseph he needs to watch Vortex so we can review it by Gaspar Noé, I'm trying to get you to watch that this week. And also Petite Maman is opening this week, directed by Celine Sciamma, which I really liked from last year.
You know, people can support the podcast. Mm-hmm. You can pledge money.
Okay.
I keep forgetting to mention that because people have been, which is very generous.
And Hatching is this week. They
can also send me gifts and Venmo be like, I don't know. This movie, Vortex, just...
you know what we didn't talk about, I guess I didn't put it, is Cannes announced their competition titles.
Oh.
We didn't even get to talk about that.
Well, you haven't made your selections yet.
Well, because the Director's Fortnight and Critics Week are announced next week, so you want me to wait to talk about
Let's wait till next week. That can be a segment.
Yeah, because the whole program's not up. But
okay, so we'll wait.
The competition selection so far is very exciting to me.
Okay.
Just so you know.
All right.
Okay.
Do you have anything else to say?
No.
All right, bye.